The main host is just sharing speaker view, just to check.
Yes.
Oh,
Diana, did it work? And we're gonna start recording.
Yes, it's going.
oh, good call. I need to start recording too. Okay, I'm going to start recording. 3, 2, 1 right now. Oh, you know what? Diana. Ooh, okay. So I am recording it onto my device. Diana, TJ, there's someone also who's recording to the cloud.
Yes, Diana is recording to the cloud.
Okay, great. Hello everyone who's here. Okay. All right, so we're going to wait maybe 2 more minutes for some more attendees to come to a very, very fun panel today. Okay. This is a good time if you want to grab some tea, coffee, a wonderful beverage. It's a good time to do so. Okay. I see the participants rolling in. Awesome. Hello, everyone in the audience. We're so grateful that you're here. All right, 1 more minute before we officially begin. It was funny. I was so excited that I immediately just launched right into my intro. Oh, okay.
And it looks like we're expecting 27 people today based on the ticket sales.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I understand that some people need a little bit more time to come in. Let's see. I think though I'm just going to go ahead and do the introduction, so we have ample time for our activities. Okay, so no more waiting. We're going to go right now. So. Hello, everyone. I'm clearly very excited to welcome you to the very first Realms of Courage Composers panel. I'm Angela Hahn, artist, musician, educator, and the facilitator of today's panel. And I have the honor of presenting 3 phenomenal composers today: Emily Koh, Wang Jie, and Kyong Mee Choi. Woohoo! So before we plunge into the fun activities, I'd like to take a moment to give everyone here more context about this event. So this composers panel is part of a larger project called Realms of Courage, celebrating Asian women composers, that amplifies composers who identify as Asian women through art inspired by their music and lived experiences. You can learn more about Realms of Courage by saving the link in the chat. This project is funded by the San Francisco Arts Commission and the Asian Pacific Islander Cultural Center, otherwise known as APIC. And these events, the composers panels, there are 5 in total, are presented by Angela Hahn Art LLC and APIC through this year's 25th Annual United States of Asian America Festival, otherwise also known as USAAF 2022, Generations of Power. If you're curious to learn more about these organizations, you can again find more info in the chat. Okay, some crucial shout outs here. Many thanks to the amazing administrators of APIC, Diana, TJ, Melanie, Vinay, for your support in making these panels happen. Much gratitude as well to our wonderful events associate, Samara, who is ensuring the smooth flow of this event behind the scenes. So you'll see her put in all the info and questions into the chat. Huge shout out as well to Nicole, who is interpreting this event for us today. Thank you so much, Nicole. I want to acknowledge that I'm facilitating this Realms of Courage Composers panel on the unceded ancestral homeland of the Ramaytush Ohlone peoples, who are the original inhabitants of the San Francisco Peninsula. I recognize that I am immensely privileged to celebrate the creativity and stories of Asian women, of the Realms of Courage Composers, and of myself on this land that is stewarded by the Ramaytush Ohlone, and which they have stewarded for generations. So please save the link in the chat to support the efforts of the Association of Ramaytush Ohlone, including land rematriation, ecological restoration, and upcoming arts and culture projects. Okay, so today we all have the chance to listen to these Realms of Courage composers and ask them your burning questions. So without further ado, I'd like to turn our attention to the composers. Composers, could you please introduce yourselves? Let's do who you are, where you are now, and one thing about you that everyone should know. Who would like to go first? Entirely up to you. Who would like to go first? Oh.
I will go first.
Okay, thank you, Kyong Mee. I love all the finger, like you. That's great.
I'm Kyong Mee Choi. I live in Chicago. I'm educator, also painter and visual artist myself. And I just love to explore a lot of different medium in my creative thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Kyong Mee. Who's next?
I'll go next. We're all being very Asian here. Just don't be the first. Don't show up first. You know, you get your head chopped off. Okay, my name is Wang Jie. I live in New York City. I grew up in Shanghai and moved here 20-something years ago to live in New York City. So one thing about me, is that right, Angela? One thing about me?
One thing about that everyone should know.
I guess that I pretty much don't feel like the way I've been perceived. I guess that's been on my mind a lot because I'm trained in the Western classical music. So so whatever that means, and in here in the United States as an Asian American, that often complicates how my music is perceived by the public. So I guess if there's one thing like I would like everybody to know is that my vocabulary is so multifaceted and is beyond, you know, what I look like or what you assume I might sound like. I think my sound world actually traverse between many cultures, including Indian classical, including, you know, all this stuff that is happening in New York, which is a melting pot of global sensibilities and cultures. So that's the one thing that's on my mind. Thank you.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Wang Jie. Emily.
And that leaves me. Hi, my name's Emily Koh. I'm a composer. I also play double bass. I also teach. And I'm joining you guys from Atlanta. So the one thing that I think people can know about me is I am a huge foodie. Huge foodie. So I like to eat, and yeah, I eat a lot. So there you go.
Yum to eating. Oh, yes. Thank you so much, Emily. Thank you all of you for such a fun introduction. Now we're going to continue the fun. So everyone, audience, heads up. This panel contains 3 sections, each focused on a different theme. These themes are 1, courage, 2, creativity, and 3, community. There will be many different and interesting activities exploring these themes. So let's go. Okay, I'm so excited. Okay, coming up. First section is courage. And it's time to spin the wheel. So our first activity is the spin the wheel questions. And I'm just going to give you some instructions. How do we play this? Okay. In just a moment, we'll pull up an image of all the questions. Okay. And afterwards, the wheel. Not quite yet, though. Composers, you will each spin the wheel. Actually, we'll do this for you. And whichever pie slice the arrow lands on will be the question you answer. This means the three of you will be answering completely different questions. And also, again, please don't worry about remembering the question. Audience, you also don't need to try to remember. They will all go in the chat. So let's take a look at the questions together, and we're going to pull up the shared image. Okay, thank you so much. So I'm just going to read the questions out loud. So number 1, when have you achieved the impossible? Number 2, can you describe a time in which you turned a mistake into magic? 3, when and how have you surprised yourself? 4, can you describe a time in which life asked you to step into a greater version of yourself? 5, how do you approach the unknown? 6, can you describe a time in which you created your own opportunity? Number 7, what are things unique to you that no one can take away? And number 8, what motivates you to get up every day and continue chasing your hopes and dreams? Okay, so those are the questions. And we're going to close out of that. And I want to ask, well, I will keep asking this. Who would like to go first? Or we can spin the wheel and see who goes first.
Yeah, Angela, I think that would be easier because, we just try to give each other order, and I think that's more complicated. So you just pick anyone.
Oh,
that's
okay.
fine.
Well,
Yes.
let's do this. How about moving forward, we'll do the order in which you're pictured on the promotional banner, if that's okay. So we'll do Emily first. And then
All right, here we go.
Okay. Kyong Mee second, and then Wang Jie third. Okay, so let's go. And yes, please ignore the ads. We don't endorse anything that's presented other than Realms of Courage here. So, ready, set, go. Ding, ding, ding. Ooh. Number 7. Okay, so let me just actually pull up that question. Okay, so number 7. Emily, what are things unique to you that no one can take away? And so we're actually going to close out of the wheel, and notice that we took away question number 7. So Kyong Mee and Wang Jie, you won't have the same question. Emily, again, so what are things unique to you that no one can take away? And you have about 2 to 3 minutes to respond.
Yeah, so I think where I come from and my identity is really important to me. So I'm from Singapore, and no one can take that away from me. But in addition to that, I'm also very proud Teochew, and I also am part Peranakan. So I feel like that is very important to me. But on the lighter side of things, one thing that nobody can take away from me is really my love for pink everything. Like, a lot of my pieces just have like pink accents. My CV is pink. I like to wear pink stuff to concerts. So, like on the lighter side of things, that is something that people can't take away from me. But like in all seriousness, it's just, cultural identity and heritage. And that's something definitely no one can take away from me. So.
Ooh, I really like this. And I noticed that about you every time that you're getting ready for a show. Thank you so much, Emily, for sharing. Okay, time to pull up the wheel again. And this time, the one who's spinning is Kyong Mee. Okay, ready, set, and go. Number 5. Okay, so Kyong Mee, how do you approach the unknown? Oh, that's such a big question. How do you approach the
Well,
unknown?
I think it's actually very simple. To me, just be present and see what offers that moment, given moment, and see what I have as a person with the capacity and just deal with it. Because the unknown is unknown, but at the moment, given moment, it might be looking unknown, but with knowledge or experience or everything we have, it will provide how to cope with or deal with. So that's how I deal with unknown.
Great piece of advice, audience. Great piece of advice in terms of how to approach the unknown. Thank you so much, Kyong Mee. Okay, drum roll. Wang Jie. Okay, let's pull up the wheel again. And then ready, set, spin. Ooh, number 8. Woohoo! Okay, so Wang Jie, what motivates you to get up every day and continue chasing your hopes and dreams?
Oh my God, that is absolutely the hardest thing on this list of questions. So there's two things I can share about getting up every day. And I think they're both very important to my identity. One is that I wake up every day and I feel like there are notes in my head that's kind of beached from my half dream state. It's that mysterious place. So and I feel like I need to chase them down. It's sort of like if I don't do that, then I feel guilty or something. Like the consequences of not doing that is like harder to deal with. So I would rather just do the hard work to chase them down. So what keeps me going is that I do my practice every day. I have a pretty strict ritual as a composer, and I'm at my desk at 7 o'clock every morning. Doesn't matter how I feel. Doesn't matter. Like this morning, I had a raging hip pain. It didn't matter. I was at my desk at 7. So that get me up every day. Just the sense of the practice, the work, the showing up to work aspect of the composer. And then I guess the bigger picture, the macro sense, is that I believe in the connection between people because most of the day I am by myself in my studio alone, with the exception of my assistant, my dog Pilot, the best dog of all dogs. There's the best of the bestest of the best dogs in the world is by my feet, like every day, to supervise me, to make sure I do good work. But aside from that, the connections are almost like an abstract concept for me. But I happen to be a very social person, so that kind of doesn't really go well. That's kind of a dissonance that I'm always trying to solve. I've been thinking about like what is this, creative engine that's like keep turning, and I think it's a way of me reaching out to my imaginary audiences from my solitary writing life, the creative life, that I'm trying to reach them, and I'm hoping for resonance, and I am hoping for connection. And I think that's the stuff, I believe that's the stuff that keeps humanity rich and keeps communities, together, and moves our culture, moves to whatever direction, that the culture goes. So I guess that's all I have.
That's
good enough?
phenomenal. That's fantastic. I feel like we can all like connect with you with what you said. Thank you so much, Wang Jie.
course.
Okay, so now that you've had your turn, thank you everyone for playing Spin the Wheel. And it is time to go to our next activity. Okay, so we're going to be playing Fill in the Blank. Fill in the blank. And the scenario is a treasure hunt. Because I think it's so important to use our imaginations for these games. So here are the instructions. I will read the following prompts, and composers, you just need to fill in the blank. So we'll go in the same order. Watch out, I might go the opposite order in a little bit. And then audience, these are fun questions, so please feel free to answer as well, and see how your answer compares to the composers. So let's go. Okay, again, the questions will be in the chat. It's time for a treasure hunt. You are looking for blank. And then Emily, first. Actually, composers, you could probably all unmute because this might go a little bit more rapid fire.
Mhm.
Maybe.
Do we write it out?
Oh no, you just answer live.
Oh.
So you're on a treasure hunt,
see.
Emily. What
Uh-huh.
are you looking for?
I'm looking for C clefs.
Ooh, okay, C clefs. C clefs. Kyong Mee?
I'm doing the second one, right?
Oh no, we're all answering the same one.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay. It's time for treasure hunt. I am looking for very interesting question. I'm looking for a star.
A star. Okay. This is also good. And Wang Jie?
I want to find the next harmonic progression that I like next to a bowl of noodle soup.
Oh yes. That's a good treasure. all your treasures are great. Oh my gosh. Okay. So the story continues. Okay. You get to bring a person to guide you on your journey. So you bring blank because of blank.
This one's too easy. I'll go first. I want to bring my husband. Because, my husband is such the opposite of me. I am really all over the place and scatterheaded. My husband is, he's very level-headed. He's very rational, and he knows everything, but he pretends he knows nothing. Like that. I'm the exact opposite.
He's going to help you find your noodle soup and your chord progression.
So if I can bring only one person, that'll be my husband, Fred Child. Hopefully he's here, made it here today.
Thank you. That was great. I was just going to say he's going to help you find that chord progression, the noodle soup. Noodle soup. Oh well, since okay, Wang Jie went. Maybe Kyong Mee. We'll go to
Sure.
you.
Yeah, I think first thought I had also was my husband, but since Wang Jie answered that way, I want to bring my old friend who lives in actually Korea still, and she's very explorative, and it's a wonderful old friend I didn't see for about since COVID in let's say 5 years. So I want to bring her. Her name is Sohee, and she's very into travel, and she's really going everywhere, and I always love to hang out with her.
Ooh, travel buddy friend. Oh, thank you so
Yes.
much. So we got husband, we got friend to help you reach the stars.
So Wang Jie, I thought you were gonna bring your dog, even though it's not person.
Dog comes no matter what. Be in a bag. Dog in a bag.
So Emily, who are you bringing to?
Well, I don't think I'm bringing a specific person, but I'm gonna bring a violist because violists read C clef And I have a lot of violist friends, so I think they need to like go find out amongst themselves who's gonna come on this adventure. But shout out to the violists. They're not always, the people that we make jokes about. They're actually really cool people.
Yes. Oh, your violist is going to definitely find your C clef.
Yes, finding my C clef.
Oh my gosh, that's great. Okay. Next one. You're adventuring happily when suddenly you realize you're lost. You find your way again by blank.
This one's very easy too. So I'm on my adventure looking for my bowl of noodles while, the harmonic progression's going in my head, right? And then I'm lost. Well, the only answer is hot sauce. Add hot sauce to the noodle soup. Fire up the neurons. Get me some harmonic progression that I can live with.
Oh, right, the hot sauce might go like ding. You get the harmonic progression. You also find your way. It's a win-win for everyone. You gotta keep the hot sauce in your purse. Emily, we're gonna go to you next to change a little bit. You're lost. You can't find your C clef.
Right.
Your violist might be lost with you too.
I think we find our way again by following the sounds.
Oh, yeah, that's
right.
Good.
Yeah, that's kind of how I think it works. I don't know.
That's a good answer.
Well, for me, I'm gonna go backwards where I came from.
Oh yes, that's retrace your steps.
Yes.
Retrace your steps. And that's always a good strategy. Let's get some tea. Brings us to our next question. Okay. You're confronted by a troll that tries to make you feel small. You defeat this troll by blank. Someone who's trying to put you down, but you're not having any of that. So, Emily.
I'll start. So I want to show this troll some bow magic so that we both swap sizes. And then the troll will be like, okay, now I know what it feels like to be, a different size, so we don't make fun of people who are different from us.
That's a great answer. Wait, you said bow? Like as in
like the bow, like a bow.
Of the viola.
The viola, yeah, viola magic as like a magic wand kind of thing. So
that's genius. Using your viola's bow to poof, and now the troll is of a different size. Excellent answer. Okay, who's next? What is another way to defeat this troll?
I'll go next. So there's this troll, and this troll is like really big, and then my husband and I with a bag of dog, and then we will be, maybe not the dog, but my husband and I, we will be singing the highlights from my harmonic progressions, which will form some kind of counterpoint. Counterpoint just means, two independent tunes, and they are interacting with each other, but they're somehow coherent together, and they make vertical sense together, and so then I would have shown the troll that, hey, there's nothing more dangerous than a thought, and that's the only thought you have. And right now, the only thought you have is to make me feel as small as possible. Do you think you can have another thought that will make your current thought a little more coherent and a little more beautiful? And then we can make music together, and the troll will be like, yeah, I mean, I don't have to just have one thought. I can always have a companion thought that will make my thought more fun, more beautiful. and then the troll just kind of like, yes, you can go.
Oh, and the baby becomes your friend too. Maybe you have your husband, the dog, and the troll.
I'm reminded of that animation from Studio Ghibli, the No Face from Spirited Away.
Yes.
Yeah, he changed he transformed and just follows this little girl, and just was so moved and so touched by the transformation of the little girl, and then he just gave away all of his ego, his inner junk, and just become a no face and just follows her around. It's just wonderful.
That's great. Yes, we have
I was so touched in that moment in the movie.
Yeah, that's true. I have to go back and watch that. It's nostalgia. Yes. Thank you so much, Wang Jie, for that answer. And Kyong Mee?
I am confronted by a troll that tries to make me feel small. I defeat this troll by not making myself feel small.
Yes. Mind blow, because if you don't feel small, then the troll is automatically defeated. Ha ha! Great, that's fantastic. Thank you so much. Okay, the very last question is not a fill in the blank. And actually, we'll do this. I'm going to ask a question. So, yay! You reached your treasure. You reached your C clef, your star, and well, it sounds like you already got your noodles and your hot sauce and your harmonic progression. But what do you treasure most about yourself as a composer? Just give you a little time to think about that. And then maybe we can go again. Actually, Kyong Mee, if you don't mind starting, we'll start with you, and then we'll go to Emily, and then go to Wang Jie, and this for this answer. So, what do you treasure most about yourself as a composer?
I treasure most the time that I can be focused in the moment and allow myself to be quiet in my thoughts. That I cherish the most.
I need to learn that from you. Yes, it's beautiful. Thank you so much. Emily?
Yeah, I also treasure time a lot, but I think for me, it's time with collaborators, time with friends, time making music with other people and sharing music with other people. I have a lot of time alone, and for some reason, I love that, but I also, love it more when I can share that with other people. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you, Emily. And then to conclude this activity, Wang Jie.
Well, I can think of maybe two things, and they're actually related. Because I actually like hanging out with people and like cook dinner parties and like have people come over and just hang out. So I think of these activities as the soil that my positive emotions, such as joy and exhilaration, these emotions that I think that at least in my recent portfolio, it's making a huge presence, especially since the pandemic. I found that my musical voice is sort of just like speeding towards the emotion of joy, exhilaration, these emotions that were previously was very shy, in my musical voices. So I feel like the pandemic took away all of the dinner parties. It was just so, it really made me rethink what connecting to people, having the meaning of having these wonderful times with collaborators, with people, having everybody around. What does that mean in my artistic work? So what came out of it was joy. So what do I treasure most about myself as a composer? Like right now, I have different periods, but like right now, I just finished the piece for the Buffalo Philharmonic Orchestra, which the whole piece, it's like only 10 minutes, but it's 90 pages long. And it's just, I really, like for the first time, I actually like turned off the critical voice in my head. It's like, I actually like it because it's so joyful and it's just like I want to dance to it and I just want to like be with it in a way, unlike my usual mode is like critical, it's like, oh, you could have done better here, you could have done better there, like all of that. So it's so much more powerful, but it's invisible. So I find that really intriguing, and I'm kind of sort of looking for it a lot. And I do have to be in a certain frame of mind for that to visit me, because I can't just summon joy, like it's not like that. So But I can summon a bowl of noodle. It's really good noodles.
I love what you said, Wang Jie. Actually, there's a question later that's related to what you just said. So, ooh, okay, very excited.
Ooh.
Okay, so we actually made it to our first Q&A session. So, audience, this is your first chance of hopefully three, to ask the composers your burning questions related to courage. Okay, so to ask a question, you will need to locate the Q&A button, which should be near the chat button to the right. It will just say Q&A, and then you click on the Q&A button, and you'll see that you can type in your question. Notice also that you can submit a question while being anonymous. There's an anonymous checkbox. If you don't want your name to show up, you just press that. So type in your question and then click submit. And I will say your question out loud here, and then the composers will answer live. So I'll give you a few minutes to type in any questions you have. I'll give if nothing quite shows up because you're so in awe of what the composers have said and you can't wait for the next activity, no worries. I'll give a minute, 30 seconds a minute. And if nothing quite shows up now, we'll just move on to the next activity, and you'll have another opportunity after the next section, which will be the theme of creativity. Ooh, we've got a question. Oh, this is a great question. We have an honest member who would like to ask to all of you, what powers you to do your best? This is a fantastic question. Who would like to go first? So, what powers you to do your best? Emily, we'll start with you because Wang Jie just concluded, so we can do Emily, Kyong Mee, and then Wang Jie again.
Okay. So I said earlier that I also teach, and I think my students really push me to be a better me. I don't want them to be stuck with a terrible teacher, and the only way to do that is for me to continue improving myself. So they are my inspiration, and yeah, I just want them to be better than I am. So that way I have to be better now, continue to learn and improve so that I could help influence and inspire them to be better.
That's such a beautiful answer. And I have to say, Emily, I connect with you. I feel the same way. I'm very inspired by my students and also wish for them to be better than me. Kyong Mee?
Yeah, I think it's a beautiful question and a great question, and every day we evolve. And I think when we are kind of caught up with fear and worries and past and, concern the future, then we actually do not perform ourselves the best. So I think going back to my earlier answer, just to be present is the best way to see ourselves and then do best.
Another beautiful answer. Thank you so much, Kyong Mee. Yes, everything you say, I have to write that down in my journal so I could repeat it to myself like a mantra every day. Thank you. And then Wang Jie.
It's like the two Emily and Kyung, the two of you already kind of said it. And Katie, I love your question, and actually I asked that myself every day. And as I don't know if this makes sense, but because of the difficulties of the work I do every day, that's kind of different. So on some days, I feel very powerless because I feel like nothing I do will ever be good enough. The music that moved me so much when I was younger, that put me on this path that I'm so inspired by the composers and artists who have paved the path for me to walk on, and I feel like I'll never be able to reach that. There are those moments, and then there are also moments I just have to look at what I've done. Okay, they are, of course, they're flawed, but those represents my best at the moment. So, and that led to something that I've been practicing a lot, is that it's akin to, I think it was Einstein or some big name scientist, and that all we can do is to harvest those little seashells on the beach. Who was that? Somebody please was smarter than my mind and tell me. I think it was Einstein. And I thought, wow, that really resonates with what I feel like when I'm in my work mode every day. The piece I'm working on, the work I'm doing, it actually already exists in its best version, like out there, somewhere in the ether, in the universe, and in where the muses live, wherever that is. And what I can do, the best I can do, is to capture a version that I am capable of capturing in this moment of my skills, my work, my career point, and how much I have practiced to get myself to this point. And that's really the best I can do. So, of course, there's going to be a version of all the pieces that I've ever written. By now it's probably approaching 60 in total. And, in all of these works, and I look back and I can put my finger on, in that little moment when you were 22, this phrase, that is you. That is your signature. And if you are lucky, you hang on to that. I say that to myself. And so what powers me, Katie, and then go back to your question, what power me to do my best is that I have something that I can look at, and it looks like something, in my hand. It's my composition, and it says something true about me, and I have to hang on to that in order to live. It kind of is very instinctual, and then you just show up and do the hard work of being disciplined, put in the mileage, and so on and so forth. So that then the power is with me. I feel like if I can just sit down, show up to work, and do my mileage, put in the mileage, I feel like that is my power in the moment. I hope that is helpful.
Oh, very helpful. I was like, do the work. It was great. Thank you, all the composers, for answering this amazing question. Thank you to our audience member who asked it. It's a very we came to quite a few deep words of wisdom here. So thank you. Okay, we're going to go to the next question. Are there any specific visual artists or writers that influence your music writing? We have an audience member who has asked this. Again, everyone can also come, as you can probably see in the Q&A as well. Are there any specific visual artists or writers that influence your music writing? Will we start? Oh, Emily, do you want to go?
I can go. I can name artist that I am very inspired by. Her name is I think I'm pronouncing it right, but Wang Jie Mutu. She's
oh my gosh, I love her too.
Yeah. So I think her work, to me is such a powerful, inspiring, because she works with like gender, race, and then in so many art forms as well. It's not just like painting, it's also like performances and stuff like that. So yes, I am very inspired by artists. I sometimes paint as well, like that one behind, that's mine. So I try to do everything, because every new thing that I do branches out, helps me branch out into some other world that I haven't tried before. So that helps with inspiration and stuff like that. So yeah.
Thanks, Emily. Oh, I love Wang Jie Mutu. Actually, she just had a show here in San Francisco at the Legion of Honor.
So cool. I wish I could be there. Yeah.
And then Kyong Mee. We'll just go through the solo order.
Yes, for composer, I like George Crumb very much, who probably don't know him well. It's just very oriented in color and working with a very innovative way of mixing instruments, which I'm actually myself very interested in. So I appreciate his work very much.
Yeah, I love that. I love the color and the experiment of that. Thank you, Kyong Mee. And then Wang Jie, how about you?
I'll keep this short because the answer is there are too many to name.
Yes.
Because I actually, when I think about the composers who are my friends and who I've interacted with, composers tend to be some of the most interdisciplinary artists. And I say this because I'm biased, because I like I have more composer friends, so I have more like data points to measure, and I feel like most other artistic domain, they look at what we do and it's often like, oh, such mystery, we don't really know how what this is. So for us, for composer, at least for me, growing up, and I mean having a visual art sort of a experience in visual art, experience in literature, and because I write myself, so and my recent recently I've been quoting James Baldwin quite a bit.
Oh, yes.
So there are imagery that I think about a lot, and there are too many to name. And then there are writers that I think about a lot, and there are composers I think about a lot at this point of my life. And then every period, there are these heroes who are sort of my invisible friends, and then they just kind of surround me and just encourages me. And I feel never alone, in my studio, although it looks like I'm alone here with a dog, but I don't ever feel alone with such a rich heritage of art in our world.
Thank you for your answer. Which just goes to say, we have to experience the world in order to create to the very best of our ability. So, audience members, you interested in composing or creating, go and experience the world and do all the things. Thank you so much for that question. We did have this. This is on YouTube Live. We did have a question come in from YouTube. And this question, it's actually here too, if you scroll down just a bit. I'm doing it based on which question came in first. So does the phrase finding your own voice have any meaning? If so, where do you see yourself in the process? If not, say more, please. Okay. And how about we go Wang Jie first, Kyong Mee, and then Emily.
Well, this will not be fair because Frederick Child is my husband. And I want to ask him a question: is can you feed the dog? Because I am in. So okay. So does this phrase? I'll just quickly say that because I just named James Baldwin as a sort of a hero in my life recently. I would say that, and James Baldwin used to say that it is and I'm paraphrasing, that it is the artist's responsibility to embrace and to contain 1,000 voices, so that we can enlarge our experiences to include and to contain the entire, thousands and tens of thousands of other people's experiences. And so he talked about that in the context of Shakespeare, for example, didn't even feel like that he needed to leave any autobiographic info about himself. And so I've been thinking about that a lot. What does that mean that I have articulated something that is in my own voice? So I don't even feel like I have a ownership of a voice. I feel like I'm part of a much larger thing, and I feel like I'm plugged into this much larger thing, but my perspectives are so so narrow comparing to what this big space has, and it's sort of like, it's much bigger than I can ever like receive or that's kind of the feeling, and it's a little bit scary. Makes me vulnerable because I feel like I'm showing up naked sometimes. Like, I don't know your experience, but I don't think I can relate to it yet. That kind of, and then artistic voices too. They're not gonna be, and this is to the general audience. There are not gonna be composers that you hear their work and you're gonna immediately like it. Those instances are exceptions. There will be things that are acquired taste, and then there will be works that the more you listen to it, the more you like it. And then there are works that the more you listen to it, the more you hate it. There are all sorts of experiences. I'll just conclude by saying that I have a lot of trouble with at least younger composers, especially in like my students. They're like, I want to do something original. I think there will be time to do that, but the journey to get there is to pay attention to others, and it begins with paying attention to who you're writing your music for. Like a musician, for example, don't just do your MIDI and just hear it in your MIDI. Unless your piece is electronic music, that's different. But if you're writing for a musician, if you're writing for human, if you're writing for an audience who are gonna put on good shoes and turn off Netflix, come out and pay attention to you for 15 minutes, make their time worthwhile. And that's the least respect that we can offer to our audiences, who are our water, and we're boats that are dependent on the water, who are our audiences.
That's very beautiful imagery. I will also remember that and put that in my journal. Thank you, Wang Jie. Kyong Mee, would you please share a response to this question about finding your voice?
Yes, like Wang Jie said, that a lot of young people are concerned about finding voice. And I recommend finding your own voice is not something we can achieve. It's a byproduct. So people will recognize, but you will not be able to create intentionally. So just pay attention to what you do without worrying too much about. Just keep doing. And eventually you will not even notice you have your own voice. That's how I see it.
Oh, that's another level of wisdom. Wow. I love what you just said.
That is so beautiful. I just loved it. Thank you.
Thank goodness this is recorded, because then we can go back and make a list of all your quotes. Oh, thank you so much for that, Kyong Mee. I really appreciate it. Emily?
Well, I don't know how much I can add to that already, because I think Kyong Mee actually put it perfectly. It's not something that we could, as a composer, as a creator, curate a voice of our own. It's really something that, over time happens. That is to say, then I don't really care if anyone or I myself is finding my own voice, because I'm very much a live in the moment type person, and every single moment in my life is different, and I love that difference. So, for me, no, but maybe someone else down the road might be like, oh, let's connect the dots between all these pieces, and then I'm like, okay, sure. But for now, for me,
Also, I love how we're all on the same page for this. Thank you for answering that question. Thank you, Fred, for asking the question. Okay, I think we are nearing the 1 p.m. I do find it most important to make sure we answer all our audience questions. So we're just going to continue with this Q&A, and then if it's all right with the composers and with everyone here, composers, you'll get to decide which activity you like to conclude with before the closing of the panel. But we're just going to keep continuing with these amazing questions. Thank you, audience members. We have another question. Again, just going in order of who has submitted the question based on what time across Zoom and YouTube. Another question from Christina, who was the one who asked about are there any specific visual artists or writers? She also asks, how have you all dealt with self-criticism? Great question. Kyong Mee, perhaps we can begin with you, and we'll pop over to Emily, and then we'll pop over to Wang Jie.
Right. That's a very good question and very hard thing at times. But if you see very carefully, we are very bound to self, which is our identity. So if we really understand that our self or our identity is also mind designed result. So if we are able to see that, then self-criticism is really one of the criticisms that anybody can give us. And therefore, we are not really worrying too much about our identity, just understand that as one of possible perspectives. Then we are really free from that concern about myself is criticized. It's more about, oh, okay, there's another thought. That's good.
We need to write a whole book of this so we can carry it around and read in our times of need and also just on an everyday basis. Thank you so much. I said Emily.
Yeah, you said me. So I'll go, I guess. So self-criticism, well, I think when I was a younger composer, one of my teachers told me that being a composer, you will be facing a lot of criticism, and it's one of the things to learn how to work with. So my method of it is I compartmentalize myself because there are many parts of myself, like there's the teacher, there's the bass player, there's the composer. I try to put all the criticism that I get, even from myself, in a different compartment first, so that I can deal with it with a different frame of mind. Approach it from a different perspective, perhaps, because if not, the self-criticism kind of snowballs into something that is unmanageable and unhealthy. So I think, helping put it in a different box, for me at least, gives me time to process it. And usually what I do with criticism is just like stomp it out. Because it's not helpful. But unless it's like constructive criticism, then we have something to work with. So, hopefully that helps.
Oh, yes. No, that's fantastic. And wow, I love how frank your teacher was. I was like how frank your teacher was. Well, hey, this is the truth, and we know the
frank
truth.
is important.
You know how to handle it. Thank you, Emily. And Wang Jie.
So I love this question because and from my experience is that the more work I have created and have put to the test and have failed, the less like chip on the shoulder I have about my own failings and my own flaws in my work. And so I guess the immediate work is to be industrious. So like how do I deal with self-criticism? Well, it's gonna be a lifelong thing. And I think having self-criticism is a better problem to have. Can you imagine someone who has no self-criticism at all? And then this person might be judgment impaired because of that. Because I think a healthy dose of self-criticism is very important for artists to develop those eyes, the eyes who will help you to keep the integrity intact in your work, So after a span of time that you've put in the work, you've produced a body of work, and I find myself less and less concerned about the things that I can't get it right now. And I just basically say to myself, look, the pattern is what you didn't work out in your next piece, you can work it out what I didn't work out in my last piece, I can work it out in my next piece. If this right now doesn't work it out, it's not the end of the world, because my next piece, I can work on it some more to see if I can get to a better position, a better place to express this idea. If it's important enough, it will come back to haunt you. Me. I'm talking about me. It will come back to haunt me. And then, of course, then there's Samuel Beckett, fail again. feel better next time. So that's really all I have to go on about self-criticism.
I love that. I love that. Really, it's not the end of the world, and also at the very end, fail better next time. Thank you so much for sharing. This is, audience, hope you're writing down notes. Obviously, this is also recorded, so you can return to this. Pardon, I said 1 p.m. A while ago. I meant 2 p.m. It is 2:01. We're just going to continue with the audience questions because your inquiries are so valuable. So we're going to go to the next question we have here, and this is from an anonymous attendee. What instruments did you play growing up? This is a good question because we're talking about composers, but everyone here has been a musician, is a musician as well. So what instruments? But you can see there's a plural here. Did you grow up playing? So popcorn style, you choose. Who would like to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay, yes.
I played organ and accordion.
Wow. I definitely did not start with organ or accordion when I was a kid. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing. Who's next?
I'll go next. I started with piano and absolutely hated it. Then I picked up the double bass and then absolutely loved it. So I always say my first instrument is double bass.
Okay, got organ, accordion, piano, double bass.
So I grew up studying the piano very seriously, but I also, because my father was a composer, so I guess because composer, our instrument is also our body, our mind, our consciousness. So I guess, starting when I was 5, I was copying scores. I was sort of helping my father copy scores. So that really kind of sharpened my skills. My instrument, the instrument that is the composer, the composer. So that's like 2 instruments, and they kind of complement each other, if that makes sense.
That's fantastic. That's so cool. Your dad asked you to kind of write down and transcribe them. Wow, that's phenomenal. Thank you for sharing. I just muted myself. Excuse me. Excellent question. Thank you for the audience member who answered that. Okay, so we are going to our next question, another anonymous attendee, and they're asking, when somebody is listening to your music, what do you hope they will hear? How does your music guide them towards hearing that? Beautiful question. Okay, who would like to begin first? Again, everyone, the questions are in the Q&A, so you can also read them.
I guess I can go. Oh, sorry, Kyong Mee, do you want to go? Okay. So for me, I don't really care what people take out of my music as long as they emote something. It's not about what I want them to hear, but rather that they have an emotional response to the music itself. And if someone absolutely hates the music, that strong and emotional response to me is already a success. I would really hate for anyone to listen to my music and at the end of it just have no feelings, no thoughts, and nothing. Is just like, it sounds good. So that is my answer to the question, which also means I can't help guide them to hearing that, because I think it's a very personal response. So I hope I write thoughtful, emotive music. That's basically what I'm saying.
Having a strong emotion is much better than any indifference. So hit the nail on the head. Thank you, Emily. Who's next?
Yeah, I can go. And I think that Emily's answer is very good. And I'm also interested in how the music flows, and with the energy. So I want audience to be engaged most of the time without really guiding specifics that them to hear. I just want them to be engaged through the kind of flow that they feel they are writing in the moment with, very appropriate timing, so that, enough surprise, enough changes, enough continuity, and all these elements I cherishing music making. That's really all I hope.
That really touched my heart. Thank you so much, Kyong Mee. We're just like building on these layers of just amazing responses. Okay, Wang Jie, your turn.
So I would say that it's a project specific. So because I've been working on symphonies for symphony orchestra, so I guess that's most immediate on my radar, is that what I hope that the audience hear is the wonderful emotional space that moved me when I was listening to my heroes' music. That is the music for symphonic orchestra. So growing up, Brahms moved me tremendously, and Mahler moved me tremendously, and then later there were Lutoslavsky who moved me, and so there's like all these lists of people, and then George Walker also moved me tremendously, and even Clara Schumann, in she didn't really write too much like orchestral music, but so the list is too many. But what I hear more, and I tend to have radars, have antennas for the composers who were kind of generous with their music. I tend to hear that more. I tend to engage with that better. So, and due to my own limitations, and that seems to be the thing that I want to be able to offer my audiences. And I think I agree with Emily, and I don't really have any specific things that I want my audience to get out of my music. I think what's more important, or equally important, 50-50, is what my audience is bringing to the listening experience. How much of themselves that they're willing to activate in their feelings, in their emotional space, whether they felt safe enough to engage with my music. So the second part of the question is, how does your music guide them towards hearing that? So I guess the biggest challenge that I have been struggling with is to keep things simple. I find that so hard, to keep it simple, to keep it transparent, to keep the notes in a way that it does not corrupt or shield the musical messages, the emotional messages from coming through. And that for me was incredibly hard to work on. And so what I try to do is to create transparency, to orchestrate in a way that sound somewhat familiar, but there's a little bit of something else in it that is unexpected. But just to kind of put myself in that mindset, there's the self-criticism. Oh, everything you want to do has already been done, so what are you doing here? And then there's the other thing is like, well, you're gonna mess it up anyway, so why not just make a mess and see what happens? So all of that that goes into the struggle. So sometimes, and I just want to be very transparent about this, what you hear in my music is that struggle. And I hope that struggle comes through. Because for composers, our very first practice begins at first rehearsal. We practice without our instruments in our rooms, because we're writing all these instruments that we don't play. We're writing for instruments we don't play. And for electronic music composers, they're creating their own instruments that don't even exist yet. That only exist in their imagination. So all of that it takes tremendous amount of courage to say, I'm gonna present this thing that it's only been existing in theory, and I'm gonna put it out there in front of people I care about, and they can all know all the problems. They all know the problems. They can all have criticisms about what they don't like and what they like, what they appreciate, all of that. And I'm just gonna put it out there to see what happens. So that's a tremendous amount of courage. I find that requires from me to be able to put my work out there and just say, here it is, best I can do for now.
I couldn't find my mute button for a moment. No, oh my gosh, that was just like such an amazing response. Thank you to all of you for, this was a really good question. I think we talked so much about how much we can control and how much we just have to let go, and to see what happens with our what our creative masterpieces, babies in the world. We are at 2:11. We do have one more question, so I want to make sure that we ask this final question, and then I'll make my closing statements. I know we didn't quite get to the other sections, but I'm just thinking, those are great for future panels and events. We'll do this again. It'll be awesome. Call the composers. You have to come back again. This is so much fun. Okay. We have a question from Unmi Koh. Unmi, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. And your question is, all of you wear so many hats. How do you manage your busy life being a composer, artist, member of family, teacher, etc.? This is a great question. Thank you so much for asking this. Who would like to? Who would like to divulge their secrets first?
I get up very early in the morning and I have fantastic noodle soup in the house.
Oh, that's great.
Okay, all jokes aside, I just want to say that the more I can be present in the moment of anything that comes on my task, to-do list, things, and the more I can be present, the less anxiety I feel about my day. It just created more space to do more things. I can't really explain it because it's not rational. Like, I do more things. There's supposed to be less time in a day for family, for friends, for cooking, but that's not the case. I find that if I really just being Kyong was saying this, her theme, which was just wonderful and so rich to elaborate and to meditate on, is this idea of the presence, and if I'm just being present, it just feels like there's more time in a day for everything, and I can't explain it, but that's it for me.
Magic. No, I love that. Sounds like being present can stretch out the time, or make it seem longer, more precious. Thank you so much. Who would like to go next to answer this question? Oh, Emily.
Yeah. So Dee talked about noodle soup, and for me, I think it is drinking a lot of tea, like caffeinate yourself, like just boost that, and sleep less. That's terrible. Don't do that. But that's what I do. But really, I think, it's not trying to be so many different people at the same time, at least for me, right? Like, I'm a composer and I like to cook and I like to eat, I teach, I play bass. All these different things feels like they're different things for many different people. But for me, it is all of it me. So it doesn't feel like I have to hop from one activity to another activity and take the time to configure myself. If all of these things weren't in my life, I would be a completely dysfunctional person. And I think that's the truth. And it's similar to what Jie was saying, that, it just all fits together and it energizes one another. And I wouldn't choose any other way for my life to be other than wearing so many different hats and running around like a mad person, because I think it just energizes me doing that sort of thing. So, yeah.
Thank you. That's a great insight. Just being you. Kyong Mee, this is your grand finale for this question.
Yeah. Well, I think what I said whole time, Wang Jie rephrased that, the business is actually, to me, we are thinking about a lot of things at the same time. That's why our mind is always busy. So if we can be just focusing on each moment, then actually we are more fulfilled because we are not wasting our energy on other things. I told my students sometimes you are worrying about your homework while you're brushing your teeth. And then when you are doing your homework, you are worrying about your other homework. And then when you're doing other homework, you're worrying about composition. So that a lot of times our energy is wasted on worrying about the next project instead of just thinking about that particular project. So I said, just focus on brushing teeth only. Then actually you're not tired. And you just do the project you need to do, then we are actually very good. So whole point is wearing more hats and wearing a lot of different roles. If we are just doing the given moment, that thing itself, then you are never busy. You cannot be busy. So that's the really whole point of business is happening in our mind, not in the moment. So
that was very sage advice, Kyong Mee. Oh my gosh. I could definitely say, the audience and I will definitely cherish your words, all the words of wisdom you have gifted us today. And we are at 2:17. I'm going to make my closing statements and oh my gosh, thank you to all the composers today. And thank you everyone who was here today and attended and asked these amazing questions. Please come back. There will be a creativity and community portion, so stay tuned in the future. It's going to be a ton of fun again. So this concludes our first Realms of Courage panel. A huge round of applause again for Emily Koh, Wang Jie, and Kyong Mee Choi for inspiring us with their stories and words of wisdom. Again, much appreciation to all of you. In the chat, please save the links that go directly to the website. I encourage everyone, all the attendees here, read about them. You had the perfect opportunity today to really engage with them. It's like I don't want to say once in a lifetime, because I hope you come back for the next panels for, when we do the creativity and the community. This has been a very special experience for all of us. So please visit their websites and listen to their music. Okay, another huge shout out to Samara, who's been diligently inputting our questions in the chat, as well as all of this useful information regarding their websites. And again, much appreciation to San Francisco Arts Commission and APIC for supporting the Realms of Courage Celebrating Asian Women Composers project. In addition, I'll also like to thank the following organizations for making the United States of Asian America Festival possible. San Francisco Arts Commission again, San Francisco Grants for the Arts, California Arts Council, State Agency, Zellerbach Family Foundation, and Start Small. And a few notes to the audience members. We are so grateful to you for taking the time to participate in this composers panel and for making it truly amazing. Thank you for supporting Pacific Islander and Asian American arts. For those of you in the Bay Area, let's work together to keep the San Francisco Bay Area a place for Asian Pacific Islander art to thrive. Please email your district supervisors and tell them why this arts community is important to you and why you want them to continue supporting API art. For everyone, thank you once more for attending this event. And
thank you, Angela. Thank you, and Emily and Wang Jie. It's great to see you. Wonderful to meet you.
I feel so privileged and lucky to be in this panel, and thank you, Angela, and everybody, Samara and Diana, TJ, and Nicole for everything making this possible. This is so fun.
Yeah, we should do it again. Often. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, really. It's such an awesome event. Thank you so much for organizing.
Thank you.
I know much work goes into it. So yeah, and thanks for everyone who came and supported us today by coming to the panel as well. Couldn't make art without people to appreciate it. So there you go.
So till next time, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Yes, next one's on May 15th. Okay. Thank you again to
Great
the
job,
audience. Woohoo!
That was awesome. And
That was.
Fabulous. We can stop live streaming now, TJ.
Oh, oops.
Oh, okay, yes.